This afternoon, she wrote, "You weren't joking. You hide your misogyny and your racism behind your jokes on ABC. This was a dog whistle to the violent left to assault me or worse." And you're misspelled "you're," of course. Well, that's nice. She thinks I have fans. I guess that's good. But now listen, not only don't I condone death or any kind of threats against anyone, especially as I get dozens of them a week myself, this woman, you may remember, she's the one who endorsed fringe conspiracy theories and repeatedly indicated support for executing prominent Democratic politicians. Now she's dialing 911 because she got made fun of.
Here's the line that Marjorie Taylor Greene claimed was a threat. "Where's Will Smith when you really need him?"
It began with just 6 words. "Officer, I'd like to report a joke." A line so simple, yet so absurdly perfect, it instantly became the rallying cry of the internet. The joke in question, a late-night quip by Jimmy Kimmel, the kind of throwaway jab that barely raises eyebrows in the world of comedy. But for one person, it was apparently too much to handle. And that one person was none other than Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yes, the same MTG who built her political persona on being tough, unapologetic, and unfiltered was now dialing the Capitol Police because Jimmy Kimmel made a joke on television. Not a threat, not a slur, not even a roasting session, just a single satirical line. "Where's Will Smith when you really need him?" You'd think that someone who thrives on controversy, someone who regularly fires off the most inflammatory takes on social media, could handle a bit of late-night heat. But no, instead of brushing it off or firing back with her own wit, Greene took the nuclear route. She filed an official complaint against a comedian over a joke. And in doing so, she didn't just light a match under the internet. She dropped a comedy nuke right into the middle of political discourse. Let's rewind. The setup began like many of Kimmel's monologues, a blend of satire, sarcasm, and a pinch of political commentary. Marjorie Taylor Greene had just tweeted that 3 of her fellow Republicans were pro-pedophile for supporting the nomination of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, a serious and baseless accusation, but par for the course for Greene, who's known for turning every political disagreement into a conspiracy-laden attack. Kimmel, in response, delivered his line, "Where's Will Smith when you really need him?" referencing the infamous Oscars slap that was still fresh in the public's mind. It wasn't a call to violence. It was sarcasm, textbook satire meant to highlight the ridiculousness of MTG's rhetoric. But Greene, apparently unable to tell the difference between a monologue and a manifesto, lost it. She posted her outrage on social media, claiming that the joke was a dog whistle to the violent left and an incitement to assault her. That's right, a joke told by a comedian on a comedy show was, in her eyes, a public threat to her safety. Cue the eye rolls. Within minutes, Kimmel's response, that now iconic "Officer, I'd like to report a joke," had taken off. It was retweeted, memed, and parodied across every platform. Twitter lit up, Instagram reels were flooded, TikToks mocked the whole ordeal. It was no longer just a spat between a comedian and a politician. It became a viral moment that exposed with brutal clarity just how fragile the self-proclaimed warriors of free speech can be when the jokes are pointed at them. And Kimmel? He didn't miss a beat. Rather than backpedal or offer a forced apology, he leaned into the madness. Hard, he turned Greene's outrage into comedy gold, dedicating entire segments of his show to her meltdown. He mocked the complaint, her wording, and the sheer absurdity of reporting a joke to the police. "She's a sociopath and a snowflake at the same time," he quipped. The audience roared, and this wasn't just a one-night gag. Oh no, Kimmel went all in. He brought up her now infamous comments about Jewish space lasers and gazpacho police. 2 moments so baffling that they'd become running jokes in political satire. He joked about her writing a book that no one read. He ridiculed her attempt to appear tough while simultaneously crumbling under the pressure of a one-liner. "She's out here rewriting history and soup recipes at the same time," he joked, referencing her gazpacho gaffe. But the moment Kimmel truly won the internet, when he decided to apologize, not to Greene, of course, but to Batman. Yes, in a segment that can only be described as late-night genius, Kimmel wrote a fake letter to Batman, calling Greene worse than the Joker. The absurdity of it all made it land perfectly. He took her attempt at intimidation and turned it into a supervillain origin story. It was clever, it was cutting, and it was comedy at its sharpest. While Greene was filing reports and playing the victim card, Kimmel was doing what comedians have done for centuries, turning the powerful into punchlines. And let's be honest, there's nothing more satisfying than watching someone who regularly hurls verbal grenades at others get completely undone by a single satirical jab. This wasn't just a joke gone viral. This was a lesson in the power of humor. A reminder that in a world filled with outrage, the sharpest tool isn't a headline or a policy, it's a well-timed punchline. And Greene, by reacting the way she did, handed Kimmel the script. She became the setup, the punchline, and the encore, all wrapped into one. What happened next was the kind of internet chaos you can't manufacture. Only reality can serve up something this absurd. Memes flooded social media. One particularly savage image showed Marjorie Taylor Greene holding a fake police report with the words, "Suspect to Jimmy Kimmel, crime hurt my feelings." Others mocked her by creating parody hotlines. Press 1 to report a dad joke. Press 2 if someone made fun of your socks. It wasn't just Twitter having a field day. Late-night hosts, YouTubers, TikTok creators, everyone piled on. Greene had unintentionally become a viral sensation for all the wrong reasons. While she may have thought she was taking a stand, the internet unanimously agreed she'd taken a fall, and Kimmel, he just kept the momentum going. He dedicated even more airtime to the feud, pulling up excerpts from Greene's book, a masterpiece of self-aggrandizement and conspiracy theories, buried somewhere near the 36,000th spot on Amazon's rankings. "It's like a guidebook for the gazpacho police," he said, with a grin that knew exactly how ridiculous it all was. He wasn't just poking fun anymore. He was dismantling her carefully crafted image. The firebrand conservative warrior persona began to crumble under the weight of her own thin skin. The more she tried to frame herself as a victim, the more people saw the contradiction. A person who throws rhetorical punches daily couldn't handle one punchline on cable TV. And here's where things got even more deliciously ironic. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a woman who rails about censorship, free speech, and cancel culture every chance she gets, had just tried to cancel a comedian. Her attempt to weaponize law enforcement against a satirical joke exposed a breathtaking level of hypocrisy. For someone who claims to be tough enough to take on the entire deep state, she sure couldn't take a joke from Jimmy Kimmel. Kimmel's strategy was brilliant. He didn't just defend himself, he reframed the entire narrative. Instead of allowing the story to be about a controversial joke, he made it about the overreach, about the absurdity, about what happens when politicians forget that satire is a cornerstone of democracy, and he was right. In America, comedy isn't just entertainment, it's protected speech. It's a way to challenge authority, poke holes in propaganda, and remind the powerful that they're not above ridicule. What Greene labeled incitement was actually a prime example of why comedy matters. It exposes the cracks in the facade, and her reaction proved she had plenty. Kimmel's monologues became more than late-night entertainment. They became case studies in free speech, hypocrisy, and the fragile egos of the loudest voices in Washington. And the viewers, they loved every second of it. The ratings soared, clips went viral. Even people who didn't watch Kimmel regularly were sharing the Batman letter, laughing at the Jewish space laser callbacks, and joining the chorus of mockery. Meanwhile, Greene kept digging herself deeper. Every time she brought the issue back up, she reignited the flames. Every attempt to shift the spotlight made it burn hotter. The harder she tried to take the high ground, the more obvious it became that she had absolutely no sense of humor or self-awareness. It wasn't just Kimmel roasting her anymore. The media turned on her too. Articles from major outlets openly questioned her judgment. Editorials mocked her complaint as the equivalent of calling 911 over a knock-knock joke. Late-night comics from across networks chimed in. Even her own colleagues started to distance themselves. The overreaction didn't make her look righteous, it made her look ridiculous. And that's where the story flips. Because in moments like this, comedy isn't just entertainment, it becomes a mirror. A painfully honest one. It reflects the arrogance, the absurdity, and the double standards in power. And the fact that one joke could unravel a political figure's credibility so spectacularly, that's the real punchline. Kimmel's final act in this saga was his most telling. He turned to his audience and said essentially that this wasn't just about him. It was about every comedian who's ever been told they've gone too far when they dared to poke fun at power. And that's the truth behind the laughter. When satire makes you uncomfortable, it's probably doing its job. So where does this go from here? Well, if you know Kimmel, you know he's not letting go anytime soon. And why should he? Greene practically gift-wrapped weeks' worth of material and begged to be roasted. This is a battle she started, but it's one that comedy finished. The lesson: don't pick a fight with someone whose job it is to make you look foolish, especially when you're already doing a fantastic job of that yourself. And for the rest of us, the next time a politician tries to weaponize law enforcement against a joke, just remember, they've already lost the moment they had to say, "Officer, I'd like to report a punchline." If you enjoyed watching a joke unravel a political firestorm, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns of the wildest moments in media and politics. Drop a comment below. Do you think Jimmy Kimmel went too far? Or did Marjorie Taylor Greene just prove that comedy still packs a punch? And tap the bell icon so you never miss when the next controversy turns into comedy gold.